to begin by expressing my utmost delight in hosting every one of you for this party, being the second time this year that we have had to interact. I'd like to also appreciate the Chief Executive Officer of the media today for the earlier remarks that he made. That actually lays the foundation for this interaction that we're having this morning. Many aspects of the remarks that I had intended, he aptly captured them. And so, it might not be necessary for me to repeat. However, it is necessary for me to state that you, as men and women of the fourth estate of the realm, by dint of your distinguished positions and appointments, you truly are gatekeepers and those who are in the best position to set agenda for every discourse. And for us in the armed forces, more importantly, discourses that center on national security. And so this is the meeting point for us to have this panel. Understanding that you are here not to help the military, but rather to join the military to solve our common problems, which are problems that are centered around our collective security. So it's incumbent on you and I, along with members of the armed forces, to reason together and they hope that the outcome of our engagement will yield tangible outcomes that will enable you and I to live, and of course all Nigerians, to live a worthy life, meeting our aspirations as individuals and of course for our children and those that are yet to be born. So it's from that context and that perspective that I'd like us to please open up our minds, make inputs and suggestions that will make us to collectively solve problems of national security nature that the armed forces currently have found itself to be at the forefront in driving the process. Let me also say that it will be appropriate for us to understand that even though as men and women, as citizens, we are political animals, there has to be a distinction placed between the military operations and partisan political operations. I use that advisedly in the light of the fact that currently it's not inappropriate to begin to see the narratives as espoused within the political arena, especially the partisan political arena, as an operation in itself. So it's from that context that I'd like us to have a clear distinction, to know that for us as members of the armed forces, we must be isolated from those narratives that tend to present partisan political activities as operations in themselves. Let me equally use the opportunity to apprise us, even as we go into the parley proper, that yes, there are a good number of activities, a good number of actions, if you like, of the armed forces and the police and other security agencies that have taking place since our last meeting, which of course may not have been covered in our weekly briefs to the nation. These activities, of course, in the course of our conversation, we'll have to mention them. Let me equally bring to notice that within the same period, there have been ignoble actions, or if you like, activities of men of the underworld who have had to carry out ignoble actions that have impinged on our collective well-being, namely the unfortunate train attack, and of course the attack on the Kogi Correctional Center, as well as what also have been reported in the past, which is the attack on the presidential convoy, the advance party, when they were going to Daura to prepare the grounds for Mr. President's arrival. Now these, and among several others, of course not forgetting the Irabo incident, the church incident, both World War I and World War II, the incidents that have tended to shape narratives and bring men and women of the armed forces and the security agencies to present them in a form and shape that make it to look as if the nation not only is under siege, but the nation has become so much under stress that everyone is beginning to think the other way around. Why I'm bringing it to let you know that yes, these very unfortunate incidents have occurred, but those who have in place to deal with these issues on the front line have actually undertaken, and I like to very heartwarmingly present to you that we've done quite a lot, and it's my pleasure to also let you know that starting with the church attack, we have arrested those behind that dastardly act. It was my intention to present them to the public, but of course, because of certain investigations were still carried out, I had to, on the last count, change my mind, and otherwise I would have brought them here for you to see them. And I'd like to say that in due course, you will see them. Not just those ones, but of course those who have been at the heart of very daring attacks, those who have turned themselves to men of evil to put our nation under the kind of desperation that we've had in the past few months. And for the purpose of this interaction, I'd like to read out their names. And as I read out their names, let me say that it's not just only the armed forces that were involved. DSS, the police, and of course other intelligence agencies were part and parcel of the efforts to apprehend these criminals that have put us and the nation on the toes. On the 7th of August, Idris Ojo, who is 32 years old, was apprehended at Ayetorosi in Ondo State. He is one of the high-profile Islamic State in West African province terrorists that escaped from Kogi prison. Alongside with him is Jimo Ibrahim, who is a 39 years old criminal, who was also arrested. Idris Ojo wasn't done with all the criminal activities he's undertook in the past. He was also planning other deadly attacks and perfecting those plans along with his cronies before his arrest. On the 1st of August 2022, again, the military, they combined operations with the DSS, arrested 4 terrorists at Kogi in the Kogi local government area of Kogi State. These are Idris Abdulmalik Omeiza, otherwise known as Ben Malik, Momo Otohu Abubakar, Aliu Yusuf Itopa, Awal Ishak Onimisi. Now, Omeiza is one of the masterminds of the 5th June attack on the Catholic Church in Irabo, as well as the attack on the police station in Adabi, local government area of the state, that led to the killing of a policeman, as well as weapons being carried away. Additionally, on the 6th, of course, this has been reported, of August, based on our air operations, Alhaji Abdulkarim, along with his fighters, were killed. Alhaji Abdulkarim is one of the bandit leaders in the northwest of the country. And we hope, before you leave, to give you the clips of that operation. It's surgical and it's necessary for Nigerians to know. Not only that, there are several others, of course, which we have also compiled in a clip that we're going to give to you. By dint of surgical air operations that we conducted, many of the bandit leaders have been killed. Beyond that, we have heightened our ground operations across the country, but in particular, the northwest and north central. And in the meantime, I can only let you know that so much has been achieved. Many of the bandits have been killed, and we will, in due course, as it becomes appropriate for you to know, give you the details. Let me equally state that with respect to the train attack, many of the victims, of course, it's already in the public domain, have been released. The federal government and, of course, the Commander-in-Chief has directed me and, of course, the entire members, not just the armed forces, but the defense and security agencies, to do everything possible that whoever is still being held in captivity, that we undertake operations to ensure that we have them indeed rescued, healed, and healthy. That is what we are working on, and by the special grace of God, you will hear good news concerning those who are still left behind. Before I take my seat for us to go deeper into the engagement, let me appreciate every one of you for the support that you've given, and of course, by extension, to all Nigerians of goodwill who have indeed contributed in one way or the other in understanding what military operations, what they are like, and what, of course, the police and other security agencies, what their responsibilities, what they are, and what effort they are making ensuring that every one of us within our geographical space live in peace and harmony. Perhaps it's also necessary for me to use this opportunity to elicit greater cooperation from the larger part of the society. What the criminals amongst us want to do is to stoke fear and to promote it to such a level that every one of us wouldn't even want to leave our houses. This is a strategy which, if we do not take time, will become part and parcel of our daily lives. It is for us to understand that this is a criminal enterprise. This is part of what they want to achieve. That's why the English word terrorism, where it comes from. For as long as it's able to promote and propagate fear, then of course its aim of embarking in terrorist enterprise has been achieved. So I believe that you as men and women of the fourth estate of the realm would do well in educating the society for them to understand that never again should we allow agents of destabilization to stoke fear amongst us. It is essential for us to know that together we will, of course, crush those elements who do not want us to have peace. And so let me once again thank you, and looking ahead to a very robust engagement as we undertake this time. Thank you and God bless.
to the extent that will be reasonably near zero incident. The way it can happen, the only way it can happen is the fact in the support. I think we were not just in the because you are thinking that you said like one time in everything you are wanting. No, if the mind and opinions of people, they have business mind is quite simple because you will be the center piece for education the rest of the time. So together, we are able to come to time with what we do that. And then we're able to identify the singer and ourselves and have them. So now I want to do the game and where the belief that the so I just thought I would have that this is what we make. You have a future of communication. No. You are part of those things to solve the problem. So I want to solve the problem that fails, my life that fails, the family life that fails. So don't see yourself as a journalist. Don't be the personality. And when I say all that, because you start to do that, the only you have all that in journalism. So of course, it's all that. I don't like it. So again, they how to give to move it. Look at that. All of the things happen because we are doing the work of public. So let us get us on top of that. We are here as a nation. From what I call a hand in hand to this is the problem. Not one form of the other. My God, right? What is your answer? Your answer is for you to join so I will to confirm what you believe about the problem. I'm not going to do that. What do you say? My interest is that I have personal intelligence which are consistent from Nigeria and all of the Bible, and people online, and we better push to God, and then to get those who of the people that those are not right. I thought the answer would be to have to ask, are we sure who are the people? Then we have to talk about the people of God and to believe. But the few ones are the ones or whether it comes to partnership with the people of God, even though I have to do not. So I'm not going to go for those people. I'm not going to tell you where I'm talking from now. I'm going to how part of because we were called liars. What are you going to do? What will happen to Abuja for fact that these criminals are not together? And those who did the need for that movement were liars. I don't want to hear also. So not maybe somebody governor, you do a thing, you know, that's my view. And I'm a governor, it's not what I want to do. I'm not talking to you. Money is not a good person for the need for one person. It's not a good person for one person. Those who speak for government are free, are better than the government of state. So when we learn our argument or we believe, this is like part of the issue. Some non-entity founder make claims and then believe them. Even when government takes the contract, we choose not to believe them, but we choose to believe them. Even when communities are not a part of the problem, we choose to jump out with the benefit. So, how do I think the particular issue? I don't think as often. No, again, talking about how they are feeling, all of them being on the people. And this is so it's the other thing is that we use what we have made with podcast to understand the thinking of the concept of people. So I'm only using it in the form. We think of how I have known that it is important. Okay, so I'm also using it to perhaps or to educate those who may have personal responsibility. Thank you very much.
The questions that have been asked. I started, I told us that this is a parley that is intended to not for you to help the military to solve problems, but to join the military in solving national security problems. And I'm glad that that objective is partly served from some of the suggestions that have come. First, the MD son, you made mention of who is saturating the social media space. Yes, perhaps it's for us to not escalate some of the things we're doing. So, and I want to appreciate that. Unfortunately, Menga is not here. He's gone off. Desiring that we get the public first, and also in the line of what the MD son mentioned. There's something that I like to, while responding to that, I like us to know. There is a responsibility on your part, and I like to very sincerely request that you take it seriously. If our society is derailing socially, yes, everything, of course, you talk about leadership to take, but you also know that leadership is at various levels. It is, I believe, on your part, and of course, you play a critical part in changing the orientation of Nigerians in that sense. Now, why I'm talking about orientation is this. Because we talk about incident happening, we get to saturate the media space amongst brothers. That's the same period we're talking about. Our troops went on patrol on motorcycles between Lokoja, along Lokoja-Abuja Expressway. Somebody in his vehicle took up phone, videoed them, and sent it to the rest of Nigeria, the entire world, to say that these are terrorists that are moving to Abuja. All of us who saw it. And then he went further. Meanwhile, in broad daylight, if you take video, the video you take in the day and the one you take in the night, they can't be the same. And he said that that video was taken by 21:57 hours, which is 3 minutes to 10 in the night. And all of us saw it, and we didn't query it. And then, of course, some people who sent it to us eventually said, how come this timing cannot be, this is night, we are not in Canada now when you have, by 10 it's still very bright. And then eventually another line of story changed. He said, no, 30 minutes ago, 30 minutes from when? So the point I'm making is, these are realities that we are seeing in our time, which we must also use our medium to be able to correct. That's the point I'm making. We can't succumb to inanities. Stop. We can't do that. We can't join them. Just because the military has not been able to feel, is that now, should I have told the world that we are going on patrols? Would that not defeat the whole essence of it? So that's one. And then you also found a few incidents that happen. Anywhere now you find one that is a shot, then terrorists. As if we have never had armed robbery attacks before, knife attacks, and so many, and so forth. The point here I'm making is that yes, there are issues, but those issues must be placed in the right perspective. So let us join to change the orientation of Nigerians. Behavioral change. I think that, if we're able to do some nudging, I think that there are areas where many of us can do well. In behavioral science, there are things you do. I believe that as journalists, many of you might have specialized in all that. behavioral side. How do you change the behavior of society? It can be by policy, but it can also be by action, certain actions that you generate. Perception change, all these ones that people want to, recreate our mind because elections have come, and then let us have issues for discussion, and then who to support who, and then at the end of the day we lose our focus, we no longer know our sense of bearing. I do not think that we must be part and parcel of those who do all that. We should be able to know what is actual and what of course is created to fit a purpose. This is the whole essence for me that this engagement seeks to, and I'm glad that it's not coming out. Now, I'd like to also thank you for that point that you made, which of course remains the whole essence. And to buttress that point you made, when Mamu and his team showed us a video that he went to make with the terrorists regarding the flogging of those who are, every one of them, that are in captivity. Now, there is nobody, especially for the traditional media, everybody went to town with it without asking questions. And that's where maybe partly the questions about the leader. Have we also interrogated, and Madam, since you also mentioned his name, have we had time to also interrogate him? Since you facilitated this payment of ransom, who are these people who collected it from you? Ask him. Is it because it's a media person? That's why you can't ask him. I'm asking the hypothetical question. So that at the end of the day, it's not when should he be believed and another person cannot be believed. Is he one of the terrorists? It's a question she also asked. Why is it that he's the one who knows them? No other person knows them. This interaction is not about Mamu and his team. It's about engaging with responsible media executives in this sense. So for me, there are of course things we've done. You take to the media, they ask you, pay. But how many people pay for that video clip before they carried it on their stations? Yet, if we prepare materials that will aid everyone, that will create a sense, of safety and security, that will improve the sense of safety and security for us, we will be asking that we should, as if, we let us, these ones they don't need to pay, but for as long as this one is from government established, they must pay, and if they don't pay, we will not carry. Again, it's more or less sharing with us for us to be able to know that sometimes we inadvertently promote the fear, promote the objectives of the terrorists, and then we turn back and blame those who we should be encouraging. We should discourage such. Why should anybody, even for moral sake, you see someone flogging women and children, flogging those for no reason, and then, why do you even carry the story? You can, of course, the video. Why do you even have to carry it? You can talk about it and not show it, because as you show it, you are more or less incensing other people. You are inciting other people. But the person who created it is, anyway, we'll leave it at that for now. I'm bothering again. Is how safe is Abuja? Abuja is very safe, and I'm saying so also. By also referring to when I talked about that video on our men on patrol. Only yesterday I was out of Abuja, went for operational engagement in Nigeria Delta, and then suddenly we saw video that terrorists, or is it terrorists they call them? They call them bandits, have blocked the route in Abuja. Come on. Yes, there was. We saw it. Meanwhile, these are people based on our demand and operational engagement to rid Abuja of all miscreants. That look, we need to enforce the issue of Okada. And then, of course, the authorities are enforcing. And because they are enforcing, the Okada riders now went, and then they were protesting and they blocked the road and started burning. And then somebody somewhere who is happy or who want to be happy seeing turmoil went videoed it and said that these bandits have come into Abuja. You can see vehicles, they are turning back. And he recorded and thrown. And many of us have to circulate such. This is the issue. Can't we trace such, in fact, if you are the first person, if somebody is bringing it to you, couldn't we in our various positions engage those people who are forwarding such things to us? Because I've done that. Somebody forwarded all this forwarded message to me, an elderly person forwarded it to me. I said, at your age? I asked myself, at your age? And of course he apologized. How could you forward what you know is not true? You are showing me video. No part of this country now is dry. No part of this country. At least the farthest part of this country that will be dry up to May is no longer, if you go there now, fresh vegetation. And then you forward it. This was, late last month, in July. A place that's as dry as ever, with dust raised on the ground. You said that it's happening, it just happened. I said, at your age. And of course, he realized his folly and he apologized. So these are issues that I'm just bringing them out for us to also know that sometimes we are stoking fear inadvertently, believing that somebody somewhere has the job to do it. So that person, maybe as you say it, maybe he will be prepared to take action. Meanwhile, you are actually damaging, and that makes comes to issue of reputation. No, I do not I don't thoroughly agree that is the job of the journalist to damage reputation. No, I don't agree. Your work could damage reputation, but it's not your work could in the process damage reputation, but it's not your work to damage reputation. So the point is, it is even your work to repair reputation. This time around, we are not talking about individual reputation, we are talking about national reputation. It's a social responsibility. If everybody keeps talking about how bad Nigeria is, how will there be, if foreign direct investment is a measure of development and progress, how will such come? Even though I also have my own reservation about that. It's not until, anyway, that we are not, this is not economic class. So the issue I'm saying here is, God has created this space for you and I. It is for us to dominate it. Our dominating it and exploiting the resources of the state is our responsibility. It's a collective responsibility. It is not for any other person to enjoy. It's for you and I to enjoy. It is not for me to abandon for some other idiot to come to take over. It is for me to defend that and for me to enjoy it along with my family, along with my children and the children's children. Every one of us. It's our responsibility. So whatever it will take to defend it, we will. But I will not entertain those who will join forces with those who want to destabilize, all because we believe that someone has the responsibility. No, that's not it. So I'm saying, by this interaction, and I'm glad that it's been quite rich and robust, for us to have a perspective to this challenge that we have. How do we engage other stakeholders for them to take greater responsibility? And we have identified you as a critical junction point, as critical, influencers that will change that narrative. And I'm glad that we have come to that understanding, and we're living here with that assurance, with that commitment, knowing that you're doing it not to help the military, no, but to join because it's part and parcel of your responsibility. Why? Because you are saving your land. You are doing it for yourself from the position of enlightened self-interest. That's the more important thing. And as I speak to you, you are not the only state anyway. I'm just trying to say that, I mean, it's not that the whole job lies with you, but you have a humongous role to play. And I'm glad that that understanding is there for us to. Now, I think by extension, Yusuf, done by the criminals. We also see them, we are the one who rescue them, who take them to places, who go to see them in their state of despair and all that. Yes, I'm sure you must have also heard of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So your training doesn't exclude you from experiencing PTSD. So what I'm trying to say is that, yes, as emotionally exerting as it might be for you, yours is just only less than 10% compared to what the man who you could think has been trained, what he feels. So, yes, we will. That's why it's a collective thing. We share thoughts, and I'm glad that part of the things we share today certainly will be translated into concrete operational plans that will help us to improve on it. One thing that reservist policy, I think men, and mercenaries. Mercenaries are an emotion. When people talk about mercenaries, maybe they also lose it. I mean, they only have, it's a half story. It's a half story. It's a half story. If I show you this, you only see this, I don't know what it is, what this side is. So it's a half story. Mercenaries. What my good friend, the roving journalist. Oh, sorry, don't mind me. I want to use that. At some point he said he has moved so much that so it took him time to be able to know where he is now. See, mercenaries. What are they? Mercenaries are commercial entities going from one place to the other. Okay, now if you finish solving your problem, or if you think you will finish solving your problem, what will become of his tomorrow? And you think you'll be happy to be unemployed? And in any case, is he coming to do it for you for free? So what is wrong in using resources to be able to build the capacities of those who have been charged with that responsibility, to make them to be more efficient, to be more effective, to solve the problem? For me, that is the way to go. So the issue of mercenaries, that doesn't. But again, discussion on that. There are we can properly contextualize it, and then know where to go. Rather than it's not a media issue. I agree that unnumbered plate numbers and all that, convoys. Of course, the IG made a comment on it. There's a ban that he has instituted, and it's now for us to see how we can implement it. So you can also help us to expose those who have not been, who have not been sanctioned in that sense. Yes, I agree with you, Anayo. Of course, the issue of sharing information regarding relationship between the government and the military, yes, of course, continuous engagement, and I'd like to thank you. So Anayo, of course, I also appreciate, yes, we are taking measures so that strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. That we understand clearly. So we're also taking taking good note of it. Well, the clip you saw that you didn't find land forces doesn't imply that that is how it's all. No. If you go into military operations, especially for air-land integration and air-land cooperation, you hear of close air support. On the other hand, you also hear of interdiction. And there are some operations, if you go for armed reconnaissance, there are opportunity targets that you also take. So as you fly around on surveillance, there are opportunity targets that you see and then you quickly take them. But then the one that will make you to be able to have, because the land force cannot be everywhere, it's the one that is planned based on certain parameters, and then there is airline proper integration to go into that operation. So it's not in all cases that you find that there will be a full-on clean sweep, as it were. It's I believe that you know what it is. Full powers, of course, is only going to reassuring Nigerians that, look, yes, there is no who's by regarding what we should do operationally. So it is not in any way to say that he has not given us full powers before. And lastly, two things arising from what my friend and brother Martin Soloja said. Military, of course, remains a last line of defense, and everything must be done for it not to be brought to disrepute, because the strength of a nation, if we're talking about the core responsibility of the armed forces remains the defense of the territorial integrity of the country. The nation is as strong as its armed forces. But then there are various avenues of weakening your strength. You know, there are some people, you know, that are very strong in terms of physical might, physical strength. But you can also attack them emotionally, that their physical strength becomes impotent. So it is that same analogy I'd like to use for us, that do not encourage people to want to weaken the emotional strength of the armed forces, such that, you know, it's important. If we do, then of course every one of us will be the losers. So, but I'm glad that, you know, as members of the Fourth Estate of REM, even those who are not here, I believe that there are various platforms that you can engage in. There has to be an introspection as to what your activities are, and to factor it into, look, this space, this nation, where do we belong? Let's not forget about leadership, forget about parties, forget about election, momentarily. This nation, where is my place in it? What must I do for its stability? What must we do as an entity for its stability? And then, of course, that will lead you to, you know, marshalling out, you know, plans as to what you do. But of course, whatever those plans are must not in any way imperil the collective strength of our problem solving. The last, of course, has to do with the elections. You know, yes, it's an elephant in the house, but I would like to reiterate. Sometime last week, the IG had a forum, a training forum for personnel of the police and, of course, the military and other security agencies that might be likely involved in the election. And I made a statement, and I'd like to re-echo it here, which is that we, as members of the armed forces, will have a covenant with the democratic process. And that covenant presupposes that we'll do everything to create the conditions for the free, safe, and secure conduct of the 2023 election. So all the operational engagements that we have been part of is all tailored towards ensuring that the democratic process is not only nurtured, but is also made to remain solid and undeterred. So I join, you know, to encourage and, of course, to assure, at least from the military side, that the 2023 general election certainly not only will it hold, we will do everything to ensure that nothing stops it. So that you did not have any fear, and I need you to also escalate that narrative. And this is the reason why we must also call, the political class. We must, call them to account, for them to undertake actions, as we begin to prepare to go into electionary process, for them to take actions that are focused, actions that are objective, that speak to, our moving forward, speak on issues, not issues that are, intended to distract us from embarking on that journey. So this perhaps where I'd like to end it, giving assurance that that yes, we will do everything possible to ensure that every part of this country have the requisite security guarantees that will enable all eligible voters to exercise their franchise.